Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It's Taylor Lauren here, and today's video is going to be a pageant video. Make sure that y'all head over to my channel, like, comment, subscribe, check out all of my other videos. But today's video is going to be a pageant video, and I have been waiting to film this for a long time, y'all, because I think that it is such an important topic, and I think that it will be a shift in perspective for a lot of us. So today's video is going to be on the topic of, is your system black girl friendly? And I know the title can be controversial, political, whatever, but y'all know me, I love a good discussion. I love to push back and really dig deep into those topics. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get into the video, how do y'all like my braids? I thought that they were very culturally appropriate for this video. Y'all, I actually went to like a little hole in the wall braiding spot near my place, which is very risky. But they were very busy. I did have to wait a while, but they did a really good job. And I think that this is just a good style for me to maintain throughout my pregnancy. Make sure y'all check out some pregnancy content once it's uploaded. But yeah, I didn't add any hair. I just got my hair braided, and I rubber band my ends, and I got a whole bunch of these satin scrunchies from Amazon that I'm just bunning my hair with. So I really like it. I think this is day 3. I'm gonna try to keep it in. Oops, I got a braid poking out. I'm gonna try to keep it in for a couple weeks, and I really like it. I'm gonna go on Pinterest and see like what other patterns I can find. I really love the stitching and this little tiny braid in the middle, but I'm gonna try to experiment with some more patterns. But yeah, I really love my hair. Hope y'all like it too. And okay, let's go ahead. Let's get into it. Okay, so is your system black girl friendly? So I wanted to film this video because with the times that we're living in, just especially 2020 up until 2021, racism, prejudice, discrimination has always been an issue in America. It's an issue worldwide, but it's always been prevalent in America, especially for black people. Once upon a time, systems were segregated, and with everything being so in your face, and with everything being filmed, and with it really being so difficult to hide your prejudices and your discriminations and your racism now, I think it's important that black girls and black women in pageantry have these discussions, and that we are choosing to compete in and represent and pay money to systems that are supporting us and that are truly for us, that are not just using us for diversity counts and diversity advertisements, but that they truly care about the black community, that they are truly listening and learning and doing the inner and outer work to support the black community and to be aware of their own individual racisms and prejudice and discrimination tendencies, because we all have them. So yeah, I think that's why this conversation is important. That's really what inspired me to film this video. In addition to that, I have some notes down here, y'all. In addition to that, unfortunately, I think that if you get enough experienced, successful black title holders in a room, right? Unfortunately, we have all had negative experiences dealing with racism in and out of the pageant world. And unfortunately, the pageant world is no exception. And instead of us, sitting around and saying how, this girl backstage made, a shady microaggression racist comment, and how, this director may have pressured us to conform, and maybe how this judge's scores didn't add up correctly, or maybe how, this MC made a slightly racist comment. Instead of us talking about all of the negative experiences that we have had and kind of having a pity party, I think it's important that we reflect on our pageant journeys, right? And look for those red flags and say, hey, this happened and that led to this, or this was a good thing that happened that made me feel really secure and wanted and valued and listened to in this particular system that I competed in, and I really appreciated that experience. So instead of us having a pity party about all of the negative experiences that we may have had in pageantry that lead back to our skin color, we can instead look at the red flags and the green flags. So that's what I've decided to do in this video today. With the 10 plus years that I have been competing in pageantry, I unfortunately have had my fair share of experiences that have led back to my skin color being an issue for some people, my ethnicity being an issue for some people, my confidence as a Black woman being an issue for some people. So I have taken my experiences and I have compiled a list for y'all of things that you should look for and things that you shouldn't look for that will help you determine if a system truly, truly, truly values you as a Black woman and values the community that you come from. Another thing that I wanted to point out was 2020 was a big year for, and even still going into 2021, that was a big year for, I think, pageants and racism, and really talking about racism in the beauty community, specifically in the pageant community. And you know, systems were making Black Lives Matter statements. Systems were promoting their Black title holders. Some systems were, you know, a little more quiet than others. But I think that just really shows that, you know, hey, like, systems have to do better. And it is no longer acceptable to recruit and promote Black women and Black title holders without being aware of the issues that befall on our communities, and lifting up your Black title holders in the best way possible so that we can support our communities and alleviate a lot of the stress and the pressures and the imbalances and inequalities that affect our communities. So that's something else that I want to say. Before we get into this list, y'all, I also wanted to say that all skin folk and kinfolk. And what I mean by that is what I mean by that is there are plenty of Black and brown people that do not support Black and brown communities. It is very real that Black and brown people get to a certain level of status and completely forget where they come from, for lack of better term. There are definitely Black and brown people who are colorists, especially in the pageant world. So you really have to be aware of that. Just because you have, you know, a Black director or a Black board member or what have you, doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to, one, go out of their way to vouch for you, and two, it doesn't mean that they support the community overall. So you really want to, you know, use your discernment as a Black woman, as a person, as a Black title holder, to really figure out who understands you, who is listening to you, who is really going to go above and beyond to empathize and learn about your experience as a Black woman in the community that you come from, to really help you be the best Black title holder that you can be. So, honey, now that I have preached for a little bit, let's go ahead and get into these tips. Things that you can look for to help you determine if your system, whether you're currently competing or thinking about competing, I tried to make this list as universal as possible, no matter your experience level. So whether you're new, whether you're a vet, whether you're already in a system, whether you're thinking about another system to compete in, if you are a Black girl, these are the things that you can look for to determine if your system is Black girl friendly. So let's get into it. All right. So I'm gonna take a sip of water because I just feel the tension, you know? All right, so the first thing that I want you to look for to help you determine if your system is Black girl friendly is look at the history of contestants. One, it's not just about how many Black girls have won, because I really want us to get out of this mentality of just crowning Black girls for the sake of it. And this is a fine line between, you know, the whole saying of Black women being the most underappreciated group in America, which I do think is true, and then, you know, Black women and Black people having to work, you know, twice as hard to be seen, and you know, having to go above and beyond and all this kind of stuff. Now, my personal opinion on this is, just because you're a Black girl doesn't mean you should get, it doesn't mean you should get crowned. I think that you still have to be a contestant of caliber. Okay, you may be, you know, the only Black girl competing, but if your interview was trash, if your wardrobe is ill-fitted, if your walk is unpoised, and if you don't have any stage presence, then, I mean, honey, you out the game. Like, it doesn't matter if you're Black, if you're not competing at, you know, a well level, not even a decent level, but, you know, a well level. Like, if you're not a good competitor, it doesn't matter if you're Black. And I often see and have had clients, for example, Black girls that transfer from HBCU pageants and go, you know, mainstream, like USA or something like that, and they're so used to getting, you know, they're so used to doing well in these cultural Black pageants, but they don't do so well in like something mainstream like USA. And the first thing that they say is, oh, well, you know, I was one of the few Black girls competing. Well, yeah, you were one of the few Black girls competing, but you were also, you know, possibly one of the few whose competition level was quite low. So I want us to eliminate that. So it's, don't just look at how many Black girls that they have crowned. What I want you to do is go back to the basics and look at the history of contestants. Does this particular system that you're looking at or competing in, do they have a good chunk, I guess, of Black girls competing as a whole? And not only that, but are Black girls choosing to come back and compete because they're having a good experience and because they enjoy themselves? It's one thing to have 20 Black girls compete in your pageant one year, but the next you may only have 3 or 5. To me, that says, okay, something happened to where these 20 Black women felt devalued, and, you know, pageant girls talk, and the next year that diversity number completely drops. So don't just look at how many Black girls the particular system crowns. Look at their history of Black and brown contestants, and if Black women and Black girls and, you know, brown Black women and girls are choosing to come back to compete in the system. Is this system good at maintaining diversity and treating Black girls well and valuing them to the point where they want to continue to come back? Because at the end of the day, when you're competing, just statistically, the odds are against you already. But if you have a good enough experience to where you want to come back regardless of what the results were, then that says a lot. So whatever system you're thinking of competing in or currently competing in, look at the past years, reach out to some of the Black and brown girls that have competed and ask them about, you know, their experience. Ask them if they would do it again. Ask them if they felt valued, if they felt like the costs associated were worth the money, how their interactions with the director was, if they felt like it was worth the money, all that good stuff. Look at the history of contestants, not just Black girls that have gotten crowned. So that is number 1. And number 2, you guys, is social transparency, which I feel is a very, very big one. To be more specific, social justice transparency. When social justice issues are arising, specifically for communities that you're associated with, like if you're, a black woman, if you're a black lesbian, if you're a black trans woman, like when issues surrounding the communities that you associate yourself with arise, is your system speaking out against those issues? Are they advocating for them? Are they bringing awareness? This was very big for a lot of systems in 2020. While businesses and pageant systems alike, corporations as well, were making their Black Lives Matter statements. And a lot of systems were saying, hey, we stand with the Black Lives Matter community. We support all of our black title holders, yada, 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 all this kind of stuff. So that is what I mean by social transparency, social justice transparency, to be more specific. When things happen that concern you as a black woman and your community as a black person, is your system speaking out and advocating for these things and truly putting forth a genuine effort to be an ally? Or are they kind of just not saying anything at all, which also says a lot in itself? Something that I really admired specifically in 2020 was when everything was happening with George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor, the Miss Earth USA system. I remember Earth as a whole doing something, but what I specifically remember, I remember Earth as a whole advocating, but I specifically remember Earth USA doing a kind of Facebook Live panel, which was a very diverse panel. The national director, Laura, was on there along with a few other pageant people. There were a few black women on the panel, and they basically had a discussion about racism in the beauty community, and it was on Facebook. It was a Facebook Live, and they did it, I think they just did it like via Zoom or something like that. But I thought that was very enlightening and very, I don't want to say brave, because I felt like it was something that was needed, but I thought that it was a very enlightening and a very bold thing to do. And as a black woman, I really appreciated that. Especially with the national director not being a black woman. And I felt that was just a very, I don't know if that's something that the national director initiated or thought of, but at the end of the day, I'm sure it still had to go through her. So for her not to be black and to be making kind of that genuine effort and on such a large platform, I thought that was really nice. So look at the history of the social transparency. Go back a little bit, check it out moving forward, and see what genuine efforts the system that you're looking to compete in or are currently competing in, what efforts are they making to be an ally? Before we go to number 3, one thing that I also want to say is this is applicable to many labels, many communities, many ethnicities, my apologies. I'm specifically gearing this towards black women and black girls because that's what I am, and I obviously cannot speak from an Asian woman's perspective or a Latino woman's perspective or an African woman's perspective, because I'm not any of those things. So although this is coming from the perspective of a black woman, and although this is created for black women, it can be applicable to any minority, any community identity. So no matter what color you are, no matter what your labels are, just replace Black Girl Friendly with your label, and this can be applicable to you as well. So let's get into number 3. All right, so number 3 is another important one, and that is, what does the diversity of the leadership of this pageant look like? I will say first things first. In my opinion, every system should have some sort of national board. There shouldn't just be one person in charge. It shouldn't just be the national director and that's it. In my opinion, that's a big, big red flag, because that means only one person is in charge. Only one perspective is really at the forefront of everything that happens in this system, and there's no diversity of perspective, and there's no leveling out, there's no balance. So that's a red flag for me, number one. But all systems should have some sort of board, some sort of unit, some sort of director's board, because I think that is very important for perspective and background and experience, and delegation. Obviously, systems that tend to only have a national director, or at any level, whatever, just one person in charge, state, whatever. In my opinion, those systems or those productions tend to be quite unorganized. The person in charge tends to be quite overwhelmed, and it just isn't a good trickle down effect of energy to all of the people involved in that system, and or production. So that's my 2 cents for that. But check out the diversity of the leadership of the people who are kind of in charge of running this pageant. Do they all look the same? Do they all come from the same place? Do they all have the same mentality? Like, you want some diversity. And not necessarily to say that, if you're Black or if you're Asian or if you're Latino, whatever, that there has to be one person on that board that looks like you, but just a diversity of people, just diversity in general, diversity in background, diversity in experience. When you look at kind of the resumes and the background of all of these people that are leading this production or this pageant system, do they seem to mesh very well? Do they seem to advocate for each other? Do they seem open-minded? Do they seem like, if you had an issue or an idea, that they would listen to you and vouch for you? So really pay attention to the diversity of the people that are in leadership of the system or pageant that you are thinking about competing in, because that is very, very important. You want that diversity. You want multiple perspectives. You want to be led by people who are not the same, and everyone has something different that they can bring to the table in assisting you and helping you be the best title holder that you can be. So that is number 3. And the final one, which I think all of these are important, but I think this one might be the most important, because I personally have had experiences with this. And I think it's just so much easier when you are being led by someone, as far as, board member, national director, whatever, someone who is willing to listen. And I think that is one of the biggest issues that we're having with, racism, prejudice, discrimination, whatever. Everyone is talking about their perspective, but we don't want to listen to each other. And listening is very important, and you have to meet people where they are. And I think one of the most effective ways to meet people where they are is to listen to them. So number 4, the last and the final tip that I have for you to determining if your system is Black girl friendly is the system's eagerness to listen and learn about the Black experience and make connections as to not negatively contribute to these Black experiences. And what I mean by that is, okay, I'll give an example. At the time, in 2020, when all the things were happening, I was a state title holder. And what I really, really wanted, what I really desired, was for my national director to call me or check on me as a Black title holder, to see how I was doing, to see what my mental and emotional state was at, to see if there was anything that I wanted to do to further make an impact and bring awareness to the things that were happening and that were affecting me as a Black woman. And it did not happen. And I felt really bad about it, because I had other Black title holder friends whose, directors were checking on them. My state director at the time was Black, so we were cool. We were already there. but I had, you know, other black title holder friends who were uh, getting checked on and whose directors were genuinely concerned. Um, and I didn't get that as, you know, a state title holder who had just competed at nationals and had done very well at nationals. Um, so I think, and then when it was addressed, it was kind of ignored and swept under the rug per that national director that I was under at the time. So I think it's important that that you're under the leadership of people, even if they don't look like you, even if they will never know what it's like to be a black or brown woman in America, that they are still willing to listen and empathize and even, you know, help you put on events or make appearances or initiatives or what have you that bring awareness to the things that you want to bring awareness to in the black community. What else did I want to say about that? Also, if something happens as a title holder that is connected to, you know, some racism or discrimination that you have a problem with, and you try to address it with your leadership, whether it's something like, you know, maybe somebody said something really shady and racist to you at an appearance, or maybe you had an interaction with leadership themselves, maybe it was like a microaggression situation, and if you try to obviously, you know, respectfully bring that issue to them and try to have that conversation, you want them to be open to hearing you out and be open to listening to you and correcting their behavior on their end. That's what I was saying about not negatively contributing to the black experience or, you know, the black woman pageant girl title holder experience. So you want to be under the leadership of people that will listen to you when you come and tell them, hey, as a black woman, XYZ made me uncomfortable, or as a black woman, I think these steps can be taken to make the system more diverse or to help get your recruitment of black girls up, to help increase it or something like that. So you want to be under leadership of people that are willing to listen to you and appreciate your perspective of what you see and what you feel as a black woman, whether that is for the benefit of the system as a whole or for them as an individual to simply be more aware of their microaggressions and their tendencies, so that they can correct their behavior when they're interacting with black women and black people in the black community and just people of color in general. So I know that was a lot, y'all. But yes, those are my 5 tips to help you determine if your system is black girl friendly. I hope that this was helpful. I hope it was insightful. Like I said, if you're not black, if you're a minority, just take out black girl and insert your label. To all of my white sisters out there, if you're watching this, I hope that this was insightful and helpful for you as well. We're all in this together. Yeah, you guys, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, check out all of my other videos. Let me know down below what other hot black girl pageant topic you want to see next. I'm thinking about filming HBCU pageants versus mainstream pageants next, and the pros and cons and cultural differences, because I have competed in both. So let me know what y'all think down below, and I will see y'all in the next video.